Hello everybody. I'm having an issue with the refrigerator slash freezer in my garage that is a little bit perplexing to solve, and I think it's a common one that other people have run into. So I want to do a video here and just kind of walk you through how I solved it, and hopefully this will help other people as well. So essentially, during the summer months, when the ambient temperature in the garage is warmer than the refrigerator or the freezer for that matter, let's say when it's 80 Fahrenheit ambient in the garage, everything is fine. The items that are in the refrigerator stay cold and not frozen. Items in the freezer section stay frozen. So that is to be expected and everything is normal. Okay, so come winter time, everything about that scenario has now changed. The ambient air is no longer 80. It's now 38 Fahrenheit inside the garage. And as a result, the air temperature in the refrigerator, which the thermostat is trying to keep it around 34, is basically that the delta between the 34 and the 38 outside is so low that the temperature inside the refrigerator can stay between, let's say, 34 and 37 for hours on end. Once it reaches 37, it'll turn on, lower it back to 34, and it'll turn off. The problem is, and what is causing the freezer to melt the contents inside, is that in the time that it takes this small delta here to change, 34 to 38 ambient outside, this freezer, which is, let's say, trying to hold 10 degrees Fahrenheit, well, it has come all the way up to 33 degrees. Because remember, this taken it hours to come on, and now the items inside the freezer are melting. Now, the reason that that is happening has to do with the design of how these work. The entry-level models, which unfortunately is what I have, they give you a single thermostat, and that single thermostat is located in the refrigerator section. Therefore, the set point of the thermostat in the refrigerator section is what is used to turn on the compressor. So temperature warms up to 38. Thermostat says, no, now I've got to lower it back down to 34. Turns on the compressor. Compressor chills the air to, say, 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Sends that into the freezer section, refreezes everything in the freezer section, and then channels that air through into the refrigerator section and satisfies the thermostat, the set point of the thermostat and what it's looking for. So that's effectively what is going on here, and now we need to figure out a way to correct that. So how do we do that? How do we counteract the condition where the temperature inside the refrigerator and the ambient air in the garage are close enough in value that the refrigerator section takes hours on end to warm up to the point where the thermostat commands the compressor to come on and send in frozen air? Well, the answer to that is to add heat to the refrigerator section, as counterintuitive as that might be. And the next part of the video is going to get into how I was able to accomplish that, and for anybody else that's having this issue, hopefully how you will be able to accomplish it as well. Okay, so here's our garage side by side, and the first question is, how do we add heat to the refrigerator section? And the way that we can accomplish that, once I got to thinking about it, was, well, we have light bulbs here. Light bulbs produce heat. Let's just use them. Now, spoiler alert, the way that I was able to keep those light bulbs on is by adding a rocker switch. And the reason that I'm showing you that now is that the wiring to accomplish that, because I had to both do the wiring and hold my phone, was filmed vertically. And I always apologize for filming vertically. That being said, let's go ahead and get into that video right now. So this is just a toggle switch from Ace Hardware. I apologize, unfortunately I didn't record this section of the video. I guess one of the most important parts, but I'll try to just kind of talk through it. Back behind here, there's some insulation. I just basically kind of went in with a flathead screwdriver and carved away a path inside here and pulled it all out through this hole. And once I cleared enough of the insulation out and created that path, I was able to take this switch, which just has a roughly an inch wide section on the back and 2 wires, put it in through the hole, fish it down, pull it out, and then there's a ring that tightens down on this side and traps it between this plastic panel and just stays on there nice and solid. So the purpose of this switch, as we'll get into extensively here in just a second, is to turn on these bulbs. Now, this kind of gets into another discussion. Since we know we need to add heat, it's a matter of how much heat. If we add too much heat, really all that we're doing at that point is asking the refrigerator to move that heat out, which is in the process wasting electricity to do. If we add too little heat, then we're not accomplishing the goal of bringing the refrigerator section up in temperature to the point where the thermostat activates the freezer and the freezer refreezes everything. So I just went with the 2 factory LED bulbs. I think they're about 5 watts each, 3 to 5 watts each. So we have somewhere between 6 and 10 watts of thermal heat being added, and that seems to have worked really well, just kind of in some testing that you'll see here in a little while that I did beforehand. So you'll have to kind of play around with that and find the happy medium for what's the correct amount of heat to add. If you need to, you can switch one of these LEDs out for an incandescent and add as much heat as you need to, or as much wattage as you need to, up to the rating of the outlet. So, okay, I'll go ahead and get into the wiring. The next thing you'll see here is with this switch removed. To do that, I just used a plastic ice scraper. Kind of came up from underneath and top. I was just trying not to damage this plastic panel. Pulled this out, and the next thing you'll see is with the wires taped up on the side. One thing to definitely keep in mind here, I didn't mention it earlier, is that this switch, I'm being careful when I'm manipulating it, but there are metal contacts up here, if you can see them, and that's got 120 volts on it. It's feeding that light bulb, which is a 120 volt LED light bulb. So these are live, just be careful. Okay, I got the power off now. I've actually got a main circuit panel right here. This is on a dedicated breaker, so breaker's off, power's down, perfectly safe. The factory wires for this switch, they're all 18 gauge. The one that came with the aftermarket rocker switch, I'm not quite sure what the gauge is this. I think this is probably 20. That being said, I was looking at this switch and it is rated for, if I can get the camera zoom, it's rated for 5 amps. So I'm guessing that somewhere back here in the refrigerator, this guy is fused for something much less than what these can handle. So I don't know that for sure, but I think I'm good, and I'm going to run with that theory. The way I'm going to tie this in is I've got these quick connects, and they are good for 22 to 16 gauge. These being 18, we're good there. So I'm I'm going to try to, well, here's the interesting thing is I don't really know exactly which one to tie into, and they both are taken in and out of the circuit. So I know somewhere this is wired up as a three-way light switch, but I don't have a schematic, and I'm just going to kind of wing it and see what happens. So cut into these and we'll go from there. All right, got my first one tied in. The main wire is into the pass-through side, and new wire is pushed all the way through. So I'm going to clamp this one down, do the other one, and then we'll come back. Okay, first one is on, clamped down, and what I did was I just did kind of 50-50 and went with the outer wire. So this wire here, and then the one on top, basically for the yellow. And then just made sure that whichever one I picked, I matched that same wire, assuming that they wired these in some type of purpose. So I'm gonna clamp this one down and turn the power on and see what happens. Okay, power's back on. This rocker switch has a on and off position. So the idea there is once it's turned to the on position, it would tie these shut, and that should mean the bulbs should stay on regardless of if the doors are open or shut, which is exactly what we're looking for. Looking to have these bulbs keep heat in the refrigerator section. So let's test it. With this guy in the off position now, it should function to factory specs. So freezer side with the door shut, nothing happens. Wouldn't expect it to because this door's open. With the freezer door open, this shut, nothing happens. Wouldn't expect it to because this door is open. With both of these shut, so shutting the freezer, that's going to close that switch. Now simulating closing the refrigerator door, lights go off, open refrigerator door, lights go on. So moment of truth. Gonna flip the rocker switch to on. I'm just gonna bridge these, and now closing this door and therefore closing this switch should have no effect on that bulb. And it doesn't. All right, so that was successful. What I have to do now is get all of this wiring back inside, including the new quick connects that are not supposed to be in here, so that's going to be fun. But I did, in the process of hacking away all that insulation back here to make room for the switch that's behind the panel, I tried to dig a lot of stuff out in here. So I'm going to try to shove those down, the quick connects, and then the factory connectors right there. They're supposed to go to this side. So try to make all that work, and we'll come back. The switch is back in. Cleaned up all of the insulation that went everywhere. One more thing I was going to mention is that since we know that this freezer light bulb is going to stay on, that's actually not helping the situation. We want heat added to the refrigerator section. We want the freezer section to stay as cold as possible because that's basically what we're fighting. So all I'm going to do for that is just reach back here and just kind of unscrew this bulb a little bit. That'll make it real easy. That's the one manual thing that I kind of have to deal with, changing the seasons. But that, and of course, flip the rocker switch. All right, just to wrap the video series up, it's been a couple of days, and I'm happy to report that this has been 100% successful. I've got our non-children popsicle test case here, and this guy I can confirm is frozen. The frozen pizza is also frozen, and it's been in the high 20s, 30s. It's definitely been in temperature range where this was causing a problem last year. All of these items would have been, certainly that pizza would have been soft at this point. So successful project. Thank you everybody for watching, and if you decide to do it yourself, best of luck. Bye.